Hello again. This is Luis Almeida. Today we're going to will be part two, and I'm going to go back a few pages on the ethics. Now I'm reading from the ethics, um, and this is the Alwis translation and the Dover edition. Now you can find a good, excellent book on Amazon.com. Used books are fine. I usually buy used books. They're only about $4 or $5 plus shipping. But I want to emphasize something about Spinoza and the improvement because we need to understand about the improvement. What is Spinoza communicated in the improvement? Basically, the improvement is the title is on the improvement of our understanding, and then there's the five parts of the ethics about God, about the mind, about emotions, about human bondage and human freedom, and then there is the correspondence, the letters that he corresponded with, and to many people who questioned his ideas. Now, the beginning on page 3 of the improvement, now I want to emphasize something that to really understand Spinoza, you must understand this part called the improvement of our understanding. So reflect upon that idea and on the improvement of our understanding. What does that mean? We want to improve our understanding, our thinking. How can we improve our thinking? Now, to improve our thinking means that we have to examine our thinking or examine the ideas that we are, say, um, confronted with. We're reading a material and there's something, the idea is expressed. Do we understand the idea? And what's important is that we must understand and realize that a lot of Spinoza we do not understand. And this is what many people give up. Many of my students had Spinoza on the shelf for many years, and they give up on Spinoza because they find it too difficult. And I don't care how smart you think you are. You might be an Einstein and high IQ, but that high IQ does is not cannot say tackle Spinoza because your high IQ is able to say gather a lot of information, gather a lot of knowledge, and you might able to pass tests and solve problems with a certain level of reason. But to understand Spinoza, you must learn and desire to understand yourself because there is an emotion required to understand Spinoza. And what is that emotion? It's called desire and love. I desire to understand and I love my effort to understand. So without desire and love, it's impossible to understand Spinoza. But let's give it a try, see what we can do with this. Now, the very beginning on page 3, Spinoza talks about, and this is what I'm going to read. And again, Spinoza, the first few pages is almost biographical. I mean, talks about himself and his search. And he goes on, and this is what he begins to say. After experience has taught me that all the usual surroundings of social life are vain and futile, seeing that none of the objects of my fears contain in themselves anything good or bad, except insofar as the mind is affected by them. Now, you can even hear how he writes. Some of my past former students complain about Spinoza, his language. If he was more current, more 21st century grammar or communication, they would understand him. And that is a trick of the mind. Because basically, there are ideas in here that we must say want to discover and have them reveal these ideas to us. So we must put in the effort and the time and the patience to say, dig in with our mind. We're not used to question, especially if you have a high IQ. You read a material, you gather information, and you store that information. That information now is stored in your memory, and can recall that information. You become just like a recorder. But that's not what we're talking about. What we want to do is understand the material that you're confronted with. Put in the effort. So Spinoza's talk about the objects of his fears do not contain anything good or bad except how he is affected by them. Just like an example, one of my students talk about having social anxiety. What does that mean? So you go to an event of people, could be a party, or could be a business, or could be a gallery, an art gallery, could be or reading, going to a reading, and there will be other people there. Now, the people in themselves are neither good or bad, except how we are affected by that, what we perceive. So it's our perception that is the problem. And we're going to get into that in a few minutes. So let's take a look again. On page 3, Spinoza is addressing a reality. And he's wanting to find out that all these things that everybody is pursuing, including himself, is it's good. It is a good. It's a certain level of goodness. It gives a certain level of happiness, but that happiness is not lasting. So the first page describes Spinoza's quest, and he wants something that's permanent happiness. And let's see what he says here. I finally resolved to inquire whether there might be some real good, having power to communicate itself, which would affect the mind singly to the conclusion, to the exclusion of all else. Whether in fact there might be anything of which the discovery and attainment would enable me to enjoy continuous, supreme, and unending happiness. So Spinoza, like everyone else, is looking for happiness, not just pleasure, and not just happiness that's temporary, but permanent happiness. Is there anything out there? Out there? Where is out there? The universe? In front of us? On planet Earth? Our neighbor? Our family? Anything out there that will give us permanent and sustainable happiness? Let's go on. I say I finally resolved, for at first sight it seemed unwise, willingly to lose hold on what was sure for the sake of something uncertain. I'll repeat that. I say I finally resolved, for at first sight it seemed unwise, willingly to lose hold on what was sure for the sake of something then uncertain. I could see the benefits which are acquired through fame and riches, and I should be obliged to abandon the quest of such objects if I seriously devoted myself to the search of something different and new. I perceived that if true happiness chanced to be placed in the former, I should necessarily miss it. While if, on the other hand, if it were not so placed, and I give them my whole attention, I should equally fail. I therefore debated whether it would not be possible to arrive at the new principle again. I therefore debated whether it would not be possible to arrive at the new principle, or at any rate at a certainty concerning its existence without changing the conduct and usual plan of my life. So he wanted to see if I can search for this thing, this object that would give me permanent happiness, and at the same time hold on to the things that I thought Well, at least I know they can give me certain level of happiness. Can I have both? And he came to the conclusion. I therefore debated whether it would not be possible to arrive at a new principle, or at any rate, at a certainty concerning its existence without changing the conduct and usual plan of my life. With this end in view, I made many efforts, but in vain. For the ordinary surroundings of life, which are esteemed by men, as their actions testify, to be the highest good, may be classed under the three heads: riches, fame, and the pleasures of sense. Now, Spinoza begins to realize that his search for something that's permanent, in order to do that, to focus on that, he must let go of his old premise, his old beliefs that fame, riches, and the pleasures of the sense was not the direction he wanted to go, because he saw that they had limitations. And that's where I want to go. I'm going to skip a few pages because he goes on to say this. It's interesting. He says this: by sensual pleasure, he began to see the problems, or the the uh, the problems of these ordinary things that we pursue. By sensual pleasures, the mind is enthralled to the extent of quiescence, as if the supreme good were actually attained. Quiescence. The mind is what? Uh, Hold on to this. You have to look it up, the word quiescence, because I don't remember it. I should have, but you're right, I should, but I don't. Quiescence. I'm going to kind of intuitively say that the mind is sustained, and it's now hold on to this state of mind that it is found something really good. So it holds itself. The mind is in quiescence, as if the good were actually attained, so that it is quite incapable of thinking of any other object. And you can experience this. When you are pursued pleasure, uh, a, a partner, a girlfriend, or a boyfriend, or the same sex, you you found someone that you feel you're attracted to, and they reciprocate, and you're being reciprocated. You cannot think of anything else. You dream about that person. You're drunk in the pleasure of connecting with that person. You can't think of anything else. Or if you are addicted to, say, food, you can't think of anything else. Or if you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, you cannot think of anything else. Likewise, he goes on to say, the pursuit of honors and riches is likewise very absorbing, especially if such objects be sought simply for their own sake, inasmuch as they are then supposed to be constitute the highest good. But he goes on to say, fame has the further drawbacks that it compels its votaries, followers, to order their lives according to the opinions of their fellow man, and shunning what they usually shun and seeking what they usually seek. So when you are seeking fame, that's all you think about. And you're so concerned about your fame, and you try to dismiss any your competition, and you're constantly worried about, do my fans still see me as the superior musician or actor or whatever? So my desire for fame is so overwhelming. That's all I think about. And I'm so worried about losing my fame, because he goes on to say, fame has its further drawbacks, and it compels its followers to order their lives according to the opinions of their fellows, and shunning what they usually shun and seeking what they usually seek. When I saw that all these ordinary objects of desire would be obstacles in the way of searching for something different and new, no, he goes on to say, nay, that they were so opposed thereto that either they or it would have to be abandoned. I was forced to inquire which would prove the most useful to me. So Spinoza was in a struggle. He wanted to find out, again, is there something that will give him permanent and sustainable happiness? So he had to let go of what he thought was sure for the sake of something that was uncertain. So Spinoza's goal and aim is this, and we're going to jump to page 6. He wanted to come to a character. What that character is it is the knowledge of the union existing between the mind and the whole of nature. And that's what we're going to talk about next time. What does that mean? That Spinoza wanted to come to the knowledge of the union existing between his mind and the whole of nature. Now, I want to emphasize something. The mind is not the brain. The brain is the storehouse of information and it helps regulate the systems of the body. The mind is an intangible thing and it's comprised of knowledge, and the knowledge is either clear or confused. And so we want to apply intuition and reason to come to clarity. And that's the direction of Spinoza and my direction to help you understand how to come to a new reality, a new sense of I, a greater sense of I, coming to self love and self approval. Because everybody is chasing after what they believe is what give them happiness and love. And that's why we have so much suffering and pain in life. All right, we'll go next time. And please follow. And if you have more questions, make a comment. And you might take a look at my website because I have a lot of videos that will talk about how the endpoints of this work that you're endeavoring to understand and maybe follow. Bye bye for now.